Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes. Only this is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as reported by Inner City Press. The Sean Diddy Combs federal trial had dominated headlines for weeks, with explosive allegations of racketeering and conspiracy painting a picture of an entertainment empire built on exploitation and abuse. Media outlets worldwide had covered every twist and turn, every witness testimony, every piece of evidence presented by federal prosecutors. Legal experts debate the strength of the case on television panels, while social media buzzed with speculation about what revelations might emerge next. But as shocking as the testimony had been thus far, nothing could have prepared the courtroom for what was about to unfold on this crisp morning. The scheduled witness list had been closely guarded, with prosecutors maintaining strict secrecy about their final testimonies. Rumors had circulated for days about a surprise witness, whose identity remained unknown even to veteran court reporters, who had covered countless high-profile cases. The moment everything changed at exactly 10:47 a.m., the heavy oak doors creaked open. The usual shuffle of late arrivals came to an abrupt halt. Conversations died mid-sentence. Phones stopped buzzing. Britney Spears walked through those doors. This wasn't the glittering pop princess from magazine covers or red carpet events. This wasn't the carefully curated social media persona that millions followed online. This was a woman transformed, weathered by storms that would have destroyed lesser souls, yet somehow still standing. Her blonde hair was pulled back simply, makeup minimal but purposeful, applied with the precision of someone who understood the gravity of appearing before the world's media. She wore a navy blue suit that spoke of seriousness and respect for the gravity of the moment. The fabric was expensive but understated, chosen carefully to convey both strength and vulnerability. Her jewelry was minimal, just simple pearl earrings that had belonged to her grandmother. A small connection to family support in this moment of ultimate courage. Her posture as she walked was that of someone who had made peace with a decision that had taken months of preparation and years of internal struggle to reach. Her heels clicked against the marble floor with measured precision, each step deliberate. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent courtroom like a countdown to revelation. Every head turned to follow her progress. At the defense table, chaos erupted in whispered urgency. Diddy's high-powered legal team, attorneys who had maintained their composure through weeks of damaging testimony from other witnesses, suddenly looked like deer caught in headlights. These were lawyers who commanded millions in fees, who had defended celebrities, politicians, and titans of industry through their worst scandals. They had prepared for every possible scenario, every potential witness, every conceivable piece of evidence that might emerge. But they hadn't prepared for this. Papers shuffled frantically across the mahogany table, urgent conferences held in hushed tones, desperate glances exchanged between attorneys who suddenly realized their carefully constructed defense strategy might be crumbling before their eyes. Lead counsel was seen frantically typing on his laptop, likely reaching out to investigators and researchers who might be able to provide last-minute intelligence about what this witness might reveal. Sean Combs himself, who had sat with detached confidence, shifted uncomfortably. His usual swagger was nowhere to be seen as he leaned over to whisper urgently to his attorney. For the first time since the trial began, he looked genuinely rattled, but Britney didn't acknowledge the chaos her mere presence had created. Her eyes remained fixed straight ahead, focused on the witness stand that awaited her testimony. Her hands folded calmly in her lap, betraying none of the nervous energy that must have been coursing through her veins after years of preparation. For this moment, this was a woman who had made peace with her decision to speak, regardless of the personal cost, regardless of the media storm that would follow, regardless of the legal battles that might ensue. She had spent months in therapy, working with counselors and legal advocates to prepare for this testimony. She had reviewed documents, watched videos, and relieved traumatic memories in preparation for this moment of truth. The weight of representing not just her own experience, but potentially the experiences of countless other victims, was visible. In the set of her shoulders and the determined expression on her face, the bailiff approached with unusual reverence. "Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?" Britney's voice, when it came, was steady and clear. "I do. The weight of truth. Please state your name for the record," requested Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen. "Britney Jean Spears," came the reply, followed by a pause. Then, looking directly at the 12 jurors, she added, "And I'm here to tell you the truth they've spent 16 years trying to bury." The courtroom's tension was tangible. Reporters leaned forward in their seats, pens poised over notebooks, phones ready to capture every word, knowing they were witnessing history in the making. This wasn't just another celebrity testimony. This was a moment that would define how the entertainment industry addressed decades of alleged abuse and exploitation. In the gallery, supporters who had fought for years to free Britney from her conservatorship dabbed at their eyes, overwhelmed by the moment they had dreamed of but never dared to hope for. Members of the Free Britney movement, who had spent years analyzing court documents, social media posts, and public appearances for signs of distress, were finally seeing their fears validated and their advocacy vindicated. "I was told to stay quiet for most of my life," she began. "They told me silence was protection, but that was the biggest lie they ever sold me. My silence wasn't protection, it was their weapon, and I am done being quiet." She paused, letting the weight of those words settle over the courtroom like a heavy blanket of truth that had been suppressed for far too long. The silence was profound. Even the usual shuffling of papers and quiet conversations that typically filled courtroom pauses had stopped entirely. "I'm not here as Britney Spears the pop star, the tabloid headline, or the conservatorship victim that the media has portrayed for over a decade. I'm here as a woman who was systematically hunted, broken, and caged by people who claimed to love and protect her. People who made millions of dollars off my suffering while convincing the world they were acting in my best interests." She adjusted the microphone slightly, a small gesture that somehow commanded absolute attention from every person in the room. "It all started with one night, one party, one carefully calculated plan designed to destroy my life and my career, and one glass of poisoned champagne that changed everything forever. Ms. Spears, can you tell this court about that night?" Chen I asked. "September 8, 2007, she said, the date falling from her lips like a curse that had haunted her for 16 long years. "The night before the MTV Video Music Awards. The night that Sean Combs and his criminal network decided to destroy me. Not because I had wronged them, not because I posed any threat to them, but simply because they could. Because I was young, trusting, and profitable, and they saw an opportunity to control someone who could generate millions of dollars for their enterprise." The defendant shifted uncomfortably in his chair at the direct accusation, his legal team frantically taking notes and preparing what would undoubtedly be vigorous objections to the explosive claims being made under oath. The setup. A web of predators. Britney painted the scene of that fateful evening at Pure nightclub inside Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. "I almost didn't go," she revealed. "I had the biggest performance of my comeback planned for the VMAs. Everything was riding on that moment." She described pressure from her team, insisting that appearing would be good for her image. The party was supposed to be safe, just drinks, music, and familiar faces. Cassie Ventura was celebrating her 21st birthday in VIP. There were cameras everywhere, but that felt normal. As she painted the scene, her voice grew darker. At the center was Sean Combs, moving through the crowd like a gracious host, but he was too gracious, too attentive. He watched me with intensity that made my skin crawl. She testified that Diddy's behavior was performative, orchestrated. He made a show of telling people to respect the princess, offering drinks personally, ensuring she was always where cameras could capture her. "I felt like I was being paraded around," she said, "like some prize being shown off before the real game began." But Diddy wasn't alone. "Robin Greenhill was there," she said, naming the woman later identified in federal documents as handling financial arrangements for Diddy's alleged criminal enterprise. "She wasn't there to celebrate, She was there to work. She was scouting for weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and I was the perfect target. The trap springs shut. The courtroom fell silent as Britney recounted the moment that altered her life's trajectory. "Someone I now know was one of Diddy's associates and handed me champagne," she began. "Diddy walked over, smiled, and said, 'Just one drink, princess. You'll be fine. Trust me.' Those were the last coherent words I remember. What followed was a nightmare. The champagne hit like a sledgehammer. Not alcohol's warmth, but something cold and calculating that separated my mind from my body." She described spinning rooms, distorted voices, faces swirling in confusion. "I remember trying to ask for help. I knew something was terribly wrong, but the words wouldn't come out right. Everyone just kept laughing. The last memory was being led away by several people. Then, blackness until morning. I woke up feeling like my body wasn't my own," she testified. "It wasn't a hangover. This was a violation. Something had been done to me. The performance from hell." Despite her condition, Britney was given no time to recover. The VMAs were that evening. "I told my team I wasn't okay. I begged them to postpone, to get medical attention. But they wouldn't listen. Too much money was at stake." She described being rushed into makeup while struggling to remain upright. The costume wasn't what she'd rehearsed in, a glittery bra and shorts she'd never seen. "I stood under those blazing lights, with thousands watching and millions at home, and I couldn't move. My body felt like it belonged to someone else." The performance meant to be her comeback became ammunition for destruction. There in the audience sat Sean Combs, not surprised or concerned, satisfied, like he was watching a perfectly executed plan. She described seeing him calm and collected, while she fell apart. His expression wasn't sympathy, it was smugness. "I knew my destruction had been deliberate. That performance wasn't a comeback, it was a public execution." The Vulture's social media response was swift and merciless, but Britney learned it wasn't organic, it was orchestrated. Phone calls started immediately, not from friends offering support, but from people I barely knew talking about how I needed structure and intervention. Leading the charge was Lou Taylor from Tristar Entertainment. Lou's voice was always too calm. She didn't sound like someone helping a person in crisis. She sounded like someone who had been waiting for this moment. Within days, appointments were scheduled without consent. Psychiatric evaluations demanded, legal documents changing hands. The machinery of control was in motion. I found out later that Lou Taylor had worked with Sean Combs at Uptown Records. They knew each other. This wasn't random convergence. It was a planned operation by people who had worked together before. The network exposed Britney, painted a picture of a sophisticated network designed to identify, exploit, and control vulnerable artists. Robin Greenhill wasn't just Lou Taylor's associate. According to federal court documents, she handled financial arrangements for Sean Combs' alleged criminal enterprise. She was a money launderer, a fixer. The courtroom stirred at this connection, linking her abuse directly to federal charges against Diddy. They would target artists at vulnerable moments. After breakups, setbacks, tragedies, they'd swoop in offering help, but what they really offered was control. Parties like Pure nightclubs served as hunting grounds to identify victims and assess vulnerabilities. They targeted artists with significant earning potential, people whose careers they could control for years. I wasn't just a victim, I was an investment. The conservatorship, a perfect prison. The conservatorship established in 2008 wasn't a rescue. It was the final lock on a carefully constructed cage. 13 years of systematic abuse disguised as protection followed. They didn't save me. They imprisoned me. Every aspect of my life needed their approval. What I ate, where I went, who I spoke to, how I spent my own money. She described totalitarian surveillance. Cameras in every room, including bedroom and bathroom, phone calls monitored, internet searches tracked. I couldn't close the bathroom door without permission. I couldn't have private conversations with my own children. The financial control was devastating. I made hundreds of millions while under conservatorship. Most disappeared into accounts I never authorized, managed by people I never hired, controlled by the same network that destroyed me. The evidence. They couldn't destroy in the most explosive part of her testimony. Britney revealed hidden video evidence from 16 years ago. I was told no video existed from Pure nightclub. They said security cameras weren't working. But they lied. During her final conservatorship months, someone anonymously reached out claiming to have seen raw security footage from September 8, 2007. The footage didn't go through normal channels. It went straight to Sean Combs. They kept it as insurance, as leverage. The video showed her clearly compromised after stumbling and disoriented, being led away while incapacitated. The video proves I wasn't in control. That night, it proves they drugged me. More disturbing, this footage was shared with TriStar Entertainment as evidence of her instability for the conservatorship case. They didn't destroy that video. They kept it like a trophy and used it to convince courts I was mentally unfit. The insurance reels. The Pure nightclub video was one piece of a larger collection used to control various industry artists. The person who contacted me called them insurance reels. Dozens of videos of artists in compromising positions, at parties, in hotel rooms, in bathrooms. She alleged Sean Combs accessed this entire library, using it to maintain control over artists and executives. They filmed girls, women, artists who trusted them, and they kept all of it as weapons when anyone tried to fight back. The letter that never was. In an emotionally charged moment, Britney produced a handwritten letter from 2009, addressed to Sean Combs but never sent. With trembling hands, she read excerpts. Sean, I hope whatever they promised you was worth it. You helped them hurt me. And I know what you did. I saw it in your face when you toasted me and said I'd be fine. You knew I wasn't going to be fine. You smiled when you handed me that drink. You smiled when I stumbled. You smiled when they led me away. You smiled when I fell apart on stage. I was 25 years old. I trusted you, and you used that trust to destroy me. The courtroom was silent as she folded the letter. I wrote that because I was still trying to believe it was all a mistake. But I know better now. You were never a victim. You were an architect. The ripple effects, the trauma from that single night continued destroying her life for years. They didn't just take my freedom. They took my relationship with my children. My boys grew up believing their mother was crazy, unfit to care for them. She described years of supervised visits and missed occasions. I lost 14 years of being a real mother. They gave me an hour here, a supervised visit there, and called it motherhood. Financial losses were staggering beyond stolen money. They made me work constantly, but I had no say. I couldn't turn down exploitative projects, couldn't negotiate better terms. I was a slave to their greed. Breaking Point and Breaking Free Britney described recognizing the truth and finding courage to fight back. The Free Britney movement played a crucial role. For years, they convinced me I was the problem. They kept me so medicated and isolated. I started believing it. The turning point came with limited social media access, seeing fan support. I realized millions could see what was really happening when I couldn't see it myself. They saw through the lies and fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. The legal battle to end conservatorship was brutal. They knew if I got free, I would tell the truth. So they fought harder than ever to keep me silenced. The reckoning as testimony reached its climax. Britney's demeanor transformed. Vulnerability remained, but was backed by unshakable determination. For the first time, she looked directly at Sean Combs. "You started this," she said, her voice carrying across the silent courtroom. "You handed me that poisoned drink, watched me fall apart, smiled while they locked me away. But here's what you didn't count on. I survived." She stood up. "I survived. 13 years of abuse, imprisonment, being told I was crazy when I was actually being systematically destroyed. But I'm still here, and now the whole world will know what you did." Delivering final words to the jury. "I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for justice. Not just for me, but for every artist broken by this system, every woman drugged and abused by powerful men who think they can play with lives like disposable toys." Her final blow: "Sean Combs destroyed my life because he could, because he had the power, connections, and complete lack of human decency to turn a young woman's trust into a weapon. He did it to me and to many others. The only question now is whether you're going to let him get away with it. The silence. After the storm, when Britney finished and stood to leave, the courtroom remained frozen in absolute silence. The weight of her revelations hung in the air like smoke from a devastating fire. Sean Combs remained motionless, his legal team huddled in desperate whispers, their earlier bravado evaporated. As Britney walked past the defendant's table, she moved with the dignity of someone who had finally spoken her truth after years of forced silence. She didn't look back. She had said everything needed. The doors closed behind her with a soft click that echoed like a gavel falling. Everyone understood that while Britney Spears had left the building, the impact of her testimony would reverberate far beyond these walls for years to come. For the first time in over 16 years, Britney Spears had spoken her complete truth to people with power to deliver justice. The world was finally ready to listen, and more importantly, to act.